As you walk through the forest, a massive stone staircase suddenly appears in front of you. Its surface covered with moss, moisture, and the weight of thousands of years. When you look upward, sunlight filters through the branches, yet the fate of the people who once lived here remains a vast, unresolved mystery. The Maya civilization was one of the brightest cultures in human history. Astronomy, mathematics, architecture, in all of these, they were astonishingly advanced for their time. But today, all that remains are silent cities, swallowed pyramids, and undeciphered symbols. In this video, we'll look at the strongest theories about how the Maya vanished. But I should warn you, some theories point to things far darker than you might expect. And a few chapters later, we'll talk about what that mysterious symbol may have meant. The image that stays with me the most about Maya cities is the silence within the jungle. As you walk through that silence, you touch the stones. Their surfaces are damp, sometimes a carved hollow, sometimes a sharp cut meets your hand. And I can't help but think, this was once a place where millions lived, just like modern crowded cities. Children's laughter, marketplaces, priests performing rituals, all existed right here. Today, there isn't a single footstep. Research shows that Maya cities were built with astonishing planning. The shadows of the pyramids marked the seasons, canal systems brought water from kilometers away, and their astronomy was almost obsessive. But the strange part is this: these cities were abandoned right in the middle of their golden age. And I'm not exaggerating when I say, golden age. The population was growing, new pyramids were being built, trade routes were thriving, and in the midst of all this, people suddenly left their cities. What's even stranger is that there are no signs of great wars, massive fires, or massacres in many of these abandoned settlements. Normally, when a civilization collapses, it leaves behind marks of violence or destruction. But here, there is an eerie calm. As if everyone packed their bags one day, closed the door, and simply walked away. Some houses were even found with everyday objects still in place. This detail turns the Maya collapse from an ordinary decline into one of history's greatest mysteries. And soon enough, we realize that the clues behind this silent exodus aren't in the forests, but hidden in palace walls, hieroglyphs, and the signs left by priests. And the symbol that will lead us toward a far darker truth first appears in these cities. In Maya society, kings weren't just political leaders, they were seen as a kind of earthly messenger of the gods. Rain arriving on time, the bounty of maize, even the proper alignment of the stars, all of it was attributed to the king's success. So when a king's authority weakened, the entire spirit of the society trembled. This is why the changes in palace walls give us the first signs of the collapse. Hieroglyphs from the late 8th century show strange patterns. One kingdom suffers famine, another loses its water systems, another faces internal revolt. But none of these alone should be enough to destroy a civilization. The real problem is that these events begin happening like falling dominoes. One city declines, a neighboring one weakens, another begins to lose its population. But the strangest detail is this: some sacred inscriptions on palace walls were left unfinished. As if priests or scribes stopped writing halfway, interrupted by something sudden. And in those half-finished inscriptions, the same symbol appears repeatedly. The same groove, the same angle, the same repetition. The symbol I mentioned earlier, the one we'll analyze in later chapters. Was it a warning? A record? A sign of an approaching disaster? No one knows for certain. During this period, it's known that people migrated northward. But the reason doesn't seem purely political. It feels as if they were fleeing from something, or believed something was coming. And this takes us to Maya astronomers. Maya astronomy was so advanced that even modern scientists are often astonished. Lunar cycles, solar eclipses, the movements of Venus, they calculated all of it with incredible precision, almost identical to modern measurements. Which is why the records left by astronomers during the 8th and 9th centuries are so unsettling. Some inscriptions mention things going wrong in the sky. Not in direct words, of course, but through symbols, placements, and repeated signs, all suggesting something unusual. One theory proposes that they were marking the beginning of a massive drought cycle. Another argues that solar activity may have influenced the climate, or even public psychology. But the strangest part? The same symbol from the palaces appears again beneath the symbols for stars and planets. The repetition of this symbol across different regions is not a coincidence. It may have been a warning. Priests during this era reportedly increased their talk of bad omens. This rising fear likely crushed a society already struggling with hunger and instability. When a society loses faith in its gods, its political structure collapses soon after. But what delivered the final blow wasn't the sky. It was the wars between the cities. Maya cities were independent kingdoms. They spoke the same language, but each had its own king, priests, and political system. This naturally fostered rivalry, and during the collapse period, those rivalries escalated dramatically. Archaeological findings show that many cities didn't fall because of war, but because of political decay. Alliances collapsed, some cities stopped paying tribute, and trade routes were severed. Without trade, the economy faltered. This economic collapse made already weakened kingdoms even more fragile. Populations in the southern cities declined rapidly. Not from war, but from migration. People moved northward, seeking more stable regions. The migration was so massive that some cities appeared to have lost 2/3 of their population within just a few years. And here's another strange detail. That same symbol appears on the walls of abandoned cities, etched into gateways, carved into priest chambers. As if it represented the reason people believed they were leaving. The push behind this migration was not just war. People felt that living conditions were worsening, that the gods were angry, and that their rulers had lost their power. This combination may have shattered the spirit of an entire civilization. According to many scholars, the strongest candidate for the collapse is environmental breakdown. Deforestation, overfarming, soil exhaustion, the drying of water sources, all of these can bring even the greatest civilizations to their knees. Satellite images and subforest scans show enormous agricultural zones in Maya territory. These areas, used for centuries, eventually degraded the soil. When the land became less productive, people were forced to move. But the true disaster was the drought cycle. Climate data shows a major drought during the period of the Maya collapse, potentially lasting for decades. As water sources dwindled, even the Grand Pyramids casting their shadows were no solution. After years of resisting drought, the society finally broke. Yet the symbol remains the biggest puzzle. If the collapse were only due to drought, why does this symbol appear so widely? In palaces, astronomical records, homes, and temple entrances. Some of the symbols were etched even before migration began. This suggests that environmental collapse was a major factor, but not the sole explanation. Now we reach the darkest, most confusing, and perhaps most critical part of the story, the symbol. It appears first on palace walls, then in astronomical tables, then in common households, and finally, at the entrances of abandoned cities. Some locations even show the symbol carved 3 times in a row. There are countless theories about its meaning. Some believe it was a priestly warning. Others say it represents political collapse. Others think it's linked to a cosmic omen. But the most interesting part is its consistency. The same shape, the same proportions, across vast regions. In Maya culture, such widespread symbols usually represent universal warnings. Some researchers think the symbol represents the breaking of the cycle. Whether cosmic, agricultural, or political, something fundamental had disrupted the natural order. My own interpretation is slightly different. The symbol may not represent a single disaster, but a collapse of everything at once. Drought, war, political decay, celestial omens, all merging into one idea of total exhaustion. But the most disturbing possibility is this. The symbol may not have predicted something coming. It may have marked something that had already arrived. When you look at the silent pyramids buried in the forest today, it's almost impossible to imagine how lively Maya cities once were. These were people who watched the stars and created calendars, who performed grand rituals, who built architectural wonders. If we could return to that era for even a moment, we'd understand just how complex their collapse truly was. Because the Maya didn't fall for a simple reason. Civilizations never collapse because of just one thing. There was drought, there were wars, political systems fell apart, people migrated, yes, all of that happened. but none of them were the main cause. The true cause was the combination, all these pressures happening at the same time, feeding into each other. When one part failed, the others toppled. When one city fell, another was left isolated. When a king weakened, the people lost faith. Eventually, the spirit of the civilization simply broke, and the world went quiet. Even today, countless mysteries remain. That symbol. Why the astronomers grew afraid. Why some cities were abandoned entirely. All of these questions still wait for answers. Maybe one day new discoveries will reveal more. Maybe the structures hidden beneath the jungle will be mapped more clearly. Maybe the symbol's true meaning will finally be solved. But one thing is certain, the story of the Maya will remain one of the greatest disappearance mysteries in human history. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next documentary.